We're over the hump. Let's hit the intro. Welcome to the Rotohackers video podcast. My name is Judah Buddha. I'm here with AJ Herschel, the kid, and it's Jared, the absolute stud. And we are here just over, I say over the hump. This is week 8.
Yeah.
So we're on the hump. It's really not over the hump, but I mean, at this point, unless there's 18 games, right?
I don't think
Is
that.
You mean 18 weeks?
I'm sorry. Yeah, 18 weeks.
Yeah. And even if there were, I'm not sure. Surely like Yahoo wouldn't then move the fantasy playoffs or something. I think you'd just have to stick with it at weeks 15 and 16 because I don't know how many games you would have in that. It just, I don't know.
How you guys doing today? AJ, haven't heard from you, man. What's going on?
Well, I have some great news, actually. So if you guys remember, on Tuesday night, Thomas H. waltzed in here, trash talk my Bears, then went up to Judah Buddha, said, I beat you twice, then talked to me and said, I went undefeated against the Rotohackers. But with Wednesday, not only comes waivers, but also stat corrections. And my 0.4 deficit was erased thanks to the Patriots defense blocking a Robbie Gould extra point. So no, Thomas H. Thursday morning, I got that win. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it.
I should have given you the whole screen. I had no idea what you were going to be talking about. Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's the first time any of our games have been turned around this semester. Not.
So what you're saying, AJ, is that true to being part of the Falcons as a Falcons fan, Thomas H. celebrated a little bit too early. He thought he had the game in the bag. It was basically his 28-3, and then you pulled a Patriots on him.
Yep, exactly.
Totally. Oh no. I better check the stat corrections. Maybe I went against him too. No, he still beat me by 150 points. All right. Well, we got some things to talk about today. I wanted to ask you guys a question here and, give you some time to think about it. Is there a player that you feel like you could easily go out and trade for? Is there a player out there that is still a sleeper that you feel has the upside to win you a league? And I'm not talking about obviously that for certain or whatever. I'm just saying you have a good feeling or you've been watching the trend of somebody and you feel like if you got this one, this kind of if you got this player, they would help you, take you to a win. Before you guys answer, Anthony's in the chat saying good morning, Rotohackers. Good morning, Anthony. And Sam says, hey guys, Judah's still losing, huh? Yeah. This sleeper. Oh, that's his sleeper. Which is
all
funny,
right. You don't even need to trade for him. You can just get him anywhere.
Well, that's the other thing. Maybe somebody could get off the waiver wire. Disley, so it's funny you say that, Sam, because in the Rotohackers listener league, I took him for I don't know, it was pretty substantial sum of fake money. It looks like you want to say something, Jared.
Well, I was going to say, I think mostly for me, it's not as much about a player or players that I want to go out and get as much as a player or players that I want to get rid of. So like seeing what Ezekiel Elliott has done in the post Dak era, I wouldn't mind trading him in the few leagues where I have him because that he's not doing a whole lot, and they get the 49ers defense in week 15, which has still been like surprisingly, even despite losing their whole D line from last year, they've been surprisingly good against the run. So that doesn't bode well for week 15 with Zeke. So I'm looking to maybe trade him. So a team that something that I'm kind of interested in getting shares of, because I'm always looking ahead to week 15 if I can get in the playoffs. The tough part with that this year is just like so many like 4-3 teams and stuff like that, where there aren't going to be many leagues where I'm able to like push out to a lead and can feel confident about I'm going to make it into the playoffs or whatever. It's probably going to be close in almost all my leagues. But if you do get there, it's not even so much a player as much as I wouldn't mind having the Rams defense because they host the Jets in week 15. And I mean, that could be one of those where your defense, throws down 22 points or something for you, So, I know we tend to not like, talk about defenses a lot, and their draft strategies always take your defense last or something. But like once you get into the season and you see who the good defenses are, and if you see in that week 15 matchup that somebody's got it's a good defense with a crappy opponent, like I mean, that's something that can make a difference of double-digit points or more.
True.
Yeah, it's true. AJ?
I just ended up having to make a really big trade in one of my leagues to prevent me from just getting mauled. I traded away Kelsey and Chase Edmonds and got Amari Andrews, and I got Josh Jacobs out of the deal, which could be good down the stretch. I do like Jacobs. Because he's been actually kind of boomer bust, especially in standard leagues where he's had 3 sub-10 games. So he's one of the guys that I'm interested. He's going to cost a little more than other people, but I think down the road he's still going to get the normal production he normally gets, and he gets Miami in week 16. So I actually do like trading for Josh Jacobs, and that trade is more of a necessity more than it was I wanted to trade away Kelsey. But I do like him rest of the season. And James Robinson, I'm also a little bit concerned about, I'm going to be honest, because his schedule gets terrible second half of the year. And I think in a full PPR, James Robinson, Jaguars running back. And I think in full PPR right now, he's the second best running back in football. But at the end of the season, if you're set up for the playoffs, he gets Baltimore and Chicago. And granted, Chicago hasn't been that good against the run, but if you want to even get to the championship, you got to go through the Ravens, who just traded for, I think it was Yannick Ngakoue, right? I think they just traded for him. So he's a guy that I'm selling a little bit now because you can get him really, he costs a lot because he's been doing insane recently, but that return on investment may not come out well near the end of the year.
Interesting. Okay, I had some guys a little bit more minor in terms of, I think. Wait, so who did you say you're trading for?
I was trading for Amari. Jacobs especially. He's the guy that I was trading for. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I hadn't thought about people to get rid of, to sell. Now, Jared, you would be selling Ezekiel Elliott at his all-time low, though, wouldn't you?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how closely people have been paying attention to, if you're not a Zeke owner, like, what he's done the last 2 weeks or so. I mean, for the season, he still looks good because, I mean, he was, averaging 20 points or so per game through those first 5 weeks. So, you don't know what what his value is going to be in the eyes of someone else. Someone else may say, oh yeah, oh, they're panicking on him. I'm going to go out and get him. I think he's going to, do better. But I mean, the next 3 weeks, he's got Philadelphia, which is typically not an easy run defense. They've allowed the 10th fewest points this year. Then he's got Pittsburgh, which I think is still second in the league, and then he's got a bye. So by the time he comes back from the bye, it'll be past the trade deadline before he's, his schedule might look a little bit better. And then again, even after that, his 3 of his last 4 games are Baltimore, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. So, I'm going to be looking to dump Zeke. Based on between schedule and what we've seen with him without Dak.
Yeah.
No. What was I going to say about? Well, yeah. It looks like. I was just looking at some breaking news. I guess kind of breaking news. Colts. It's not breaking news. Just activated. Colts activated Pittman, and it looks like they're the Philadelphia is going to activate Goddard. So I mean, I think we kind of knew that was going to happen, but I didn't realize for this weekend they might play him this weekend, which that'd be nice. Well, okay, so my 2 were J.K. Dobbins and A.J. Green. I think those are 2 guys you could get dirt cheap right now that could like fundamentally change your league for the end of the season. I actually didn't look at their schedule. I know J.K. has a pretty good schedule.
AJ's got a great pass schedule down the line.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. It confirms my suspicion. I now, as I said, they're kind of gambles, as both of them haven't done much this year. It does look like AJ Green is starting to get connected a little bit better with Joe Burrow as far as their mind meld or what have you. But I think that you could see him continue to get better and better. And like you said, the schedule gets better, so that's good. And then I think JK is going to take over that backfield. So those are 2 that you could get almost for free. You could hand over some, bench warmers.
Yeah, those are kind of guys that you'd like get in a package deal or something. Like throw.
Yeah, like
just throw in AJ Green. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Yay or nay?
I like AJ. I do like that one. I mean, he does have to play Pittsburgh twice, which is a quote unquote green matchup, but for Burrow, that's definitely not a green matchup. So I'm not really sure about that. But I do like Giants and Dallas and then Houston in week 16. Like those 3 games, especially down the road, should be good. If he gets 10 targets a game, I like it a lot. Dobbins, I'm more concerned about. Yeah, I don't know. Dobbins, I'm a little bit worried about just because I know the Ravens just have 2 billion people in that backfield, but that could work out. I think AJ Green is one I like the best out of those 2.
I mean, I like AJ Green in our Roto league, like in a league like that where we've got 2 flex spots. And I actually, I picked him up off waivers and I paid like $12 or something for him, and I don't think anybody else even bid $1 for him.
I did. You beat me out for it.
Oh, okay. But I was thinking like, well, man, I overpaid on him, but he's done well. He has bounced. He has bounced back. So, I mean, I like him for that. I think, the only thing, unless he really starts getting touchdowns, though, I mean, he's getting a ton of targets. And his yardage is, up in the 80s and 90s. So, but right now he's almost kind of like a Cole Beasley or something. He's kind of like, hovering around like a, dozen points or so each week.
You just hope for a touchdown, and he hasn't got that yet. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think with Boyd and Higgins in that lineup, you're just, you're not going to be able to count on, the touchdowns coming that much. So I like him. I've got him in some other leagues where I can plug him in when I need to, but I don't think he's going to be a game changer. And I don't think Dobbins is going to be a game changer either. I think with barring injury, it's still going to be a mix in that backfield. I think it could maybe be as much Gus Edwards as anybody else. So I think unless you get an injury, unless like Ingram goes down more long term, I like those guys, but I like them as, as like depth for you or as a flex play and not really as like a league winner.
All right, well, we've got the chat blowing up. Sorry, I've been neglecting you, oh chat, where art thou? We got Todd Eldridge in the chat saying, what's up? Rest of season question to get you started. Hey, that's kind of what we're talking about here. And you talked about this Zeke thing, CEH or Zeke. And if you have to package CEH to get Zeke, would you swap Jefferson for AJ Brown? My answer is yes to that question. I would take Zeke over CEH. What do you guys think?
You're the Zeke owner, Jared. You go ahead.
No, I probably wouldn't. Even with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, like you look at the Cowboys the last couple weeks, and I mean, Arizona and Washington's defenses aren't the worst by any means, but they're not these juggernaut defenses, and Zeke hasn't done anything. And he gets San Francisco in week 15, Philly in week 16. I mean, just give me a better offense, even if a guy is having to split some carries.
The thing, though, that I think is a major factor is their offensive line, and it's getting better. Zach Martin was just cleared from his concussion protocol. You've got two other guys that may be coming back. I think you're going to see a whole different. I see a lot of people point to Dalton as the problem, and I do not believe that was the problem. I think it was the offensive line. They had zero of their guys in there. And we've talked about how offensive line, you need to be working together for a while to be able to play well. I think as the offensive line heals up, I think you're going to see Zeke eat. Honestly.
Maybe. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, they lost their Travis
Frederick.
Yeah, wasn't it? I thought it was him who. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Who was the guy who retired
before the season started? That was Frederick. That was Frederick. Yeah.
Yeah, Frederick retired. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I know injuries are part of it, but they had lost some stuff prior to that. I think the other thing too is the defense. The defense is so bad. They're going to get behind in games, and to really look like you're making an effort, you have to start throwing, even if your identity is running the ball. And so, of course, Zeke can catch passes too, but I just don't trust. I just don't trust that. It's just a bad combination for me. Obviously, yeah. I mean, with CEH and having to share more with Le'Veon, I don't love that, but I don't know that Zeke. I'm just probably as down on him as anybody.
What do you think, AJ?
I think in this situation, it depends if you need running back or wide receiver. If you're stacked with like Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs, or McCaffrey coming back later, which you're not getting McCaffrey and CEH, but let's just say hypothetically you had traded for him earlier or whatever. I think that could work if you need wide receivers, because Jefferson, I think, is going to be boom or bust almost every week, because the Vikings are the weirdest team in football, and they decide to play well or terrible on any given day. So I like AJ Brown a lot rest of the season. Zeke, I think his schedule is the biggest thing for me. Even because I think he'd get it back together. I think he's just in a little bit of a slump, but his schedule, like we said, is terrible. I think it depends. If you need a wide receiver, then go AJ Brown and make the trade. But if you're a little bit iffy at running back, I think I'd rather take the security of knowing CEH at least has got a decent role.
Interesting. Okay, Ben is in the chat, says, good day, gentlemen. Good day to you, sir. And he says, I picked up Aguilar. I feel bad about that, talking about Aguilar now. I'll tell you why. Aguilar to play in my flex this week. Thoughts on playing both Aguilar and Ruggs in the same fantasy team? I'll say this. I don't usually mind it. This week, I am hitting the alarm bell because of the weather. And many will scoff at the weather until it comes to wind. And they are expecting, I think I have to look it up, 45 miles, 23 miles, I think wind, 35 miles an hour wind. So
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland, and terrible weather. And it's not a dome, of course. So there are 4 teams. You have, let's see, you have the Browns versus Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Packers game, the Packers versus Minnesota. They're looking at 25 miles per wind coming from the northwest. Windy and rainy and or windy and overcast. And then you have, let's see, the Bears versus the Saints at 23 mile per hour, 23, whatever. 23 is the number. So most times 12 is sort of the limit when people talk about it really affecting football. So 23, 25, 23, these are high numbers for, levels of wind to expect in these outdoor games. So I say fade Aguilar and probably Ruggs, both of them, if you can. But they also have a huge upside. So what do you guys think?
I think it depends on who your other options. I think it depends on who your other options are. If you're even thinking about playing Aguilar in your flex, that makes me think that you don't really have a lot on the bench necessarily, or maybe you got bye weeks hurting you. And there are worse options to have. Yeah, the weather's going to be terrible, but at the same time, this is the Cleveland defense that just got 34 points scored on them by Joe Burrow without an offensive line. So I don't think he's a bad flex play. The weather's going to be a little bit of a mess. Ruggs is the one I'm more worried about because he gets 3 targets a game and either 100 yards or 5. So he'd be the one I'm more worried about, actually. Aguilar, I think, has a decently safe floor of like 7. So I think Ruggs is the one I'm more concerned about. There are worse options out there, I would say. Like if you've got the 3rd Saints wide receiver, Traquan Smith, I'd rather start Aguilar over them.
Really?
I would.
Michael
Thomas, right, he's
isn't playing.
Still, the way that Breed spread it around last game, I don't trust it that much. I think Waller's going to have the biggest game out of all the Raiders, but I think Aguilar, if you need him, there are worse plays out there, I think.
Wait, what were you saying, Judah? Were you saying that Thomas was playing? You're right, right. Okay, he's not. I thought.
So with him not playing, Traquan Smith would be, I think, could be in a nice little spot here against Chicago.
Chicago, the number 1 pass defense in the league, or like number 3 or whatever they are. If he's going to be the number 1, that means he's getting either Kyle Fuller or Jalen Johnson blanketed on him all game. And yes, as a Bears fan, we got messed up by the Rams, but we got messed up on the ground. That's a Kamara game. I had Woods and Kupp on multiple teams, and guess what? I barely won some games because they did nothing. Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee and Darrell Henderson are the reasons the Bears lost the game. The Saints are going to win, in my opinion, due to Alvin Kamara, because I don't think we can stop him. I think Kamara gets a big game. I'm not feeling the rest of the Saints wide receivers.
What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I think it's tough to play. I think it's a little tough to play Aguilar and Ruggs both. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there where you can, that can support 2 or 3 receivers. The Cowboys before Dak got hurt, or the Falcons, or the Bengals, or some of those others. But it is tough, with Ruggs you just don't know. I mean, right now Aguilar has been getting more or providing more reliable fantasy production there. So I would tend to go with him. I would see if there was another option. I'm not sure if Ben's talking about. I was going to look and see if he's
in our league
talking about our league or some other league.
I see Kendrick Bourne on. I don't know if it's in our league, but on a lot of waiver wires, I would consider playing Kendrick Bourne over one of those guys, seeing as it's like playing the Seahawks where everybody you get 100 yards.
Yeah, right. 100 yards. Yeah, it seems like there's been some there were some solid options out on my actually Sterling Shepard was out on a lot of my waiver wires. He's still only 41% rostered. He's available in half of mine, and he would, or I know he's available in, yeah, that's right, half of mine. He would be available in more if I didn't own him in several. So I think, it's hard to know exactly how the Giants will. He came back and got 8 targets. 6 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown against Philly. Obviously, maybe people are shying away from that Tampa matchup, where they've given up the eighth fewest points. But there comes a point where, if a guy is a solid talent and he's most likely going to be getting solid volume, I would play him over a guy like Ruggs who may get 3 targets, So
I think the reason people are shying away from Sterling, and I agree with you, solid talent, my little silver Sterling, but Sterling Silver, gotta work on that nickname, is because it's a terrible matchup this week and then they have a bye next week. So as much as I love him, I just didn't pull the trigger on him because it's like, man, another guy, unless I really needed a wide receiver, it's like another guy filling up my bench,
Right.
There are some interesting pickups. What would you think about playing Pittman this week against Detroit?
I would not. He wasn't doing that much before. They're not passing to the receivers a ton as it is. Rivers finally did last week, but I would not try him. Somebody else I might look at is, he's only 52% owned. He's available in almost half my leagues. Is Rashard Higgins. Again, with Cleveland, with it being run first and the weather and everything else, you don't know exactly how that's going to go. But Higgins had 6 catches, 6 targets, 110 yards last week, and Las Vegas is not an intimidating pass defense. So that would be maybe somebody else I would look at there.
AJ Herschel, what is your feeling about Darnell Mooney? I watched that game, and he just seemed to be. It's almost like Nick. What's his Foyle? What's his name?
Nick Foles.
Oh, sorry. Nick Foles had a crush on him. He kept just anytime he could get the ball to him,
which wasn't often.
That's the problem, is he wasn't catching it. But they start to connect. You might see some big bonanza fantasy points. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw Yahoo's projection for him this week, and it's like 9.5 or something like that. Twitch went, you think a Bears receiver outside of Allen Robinson is going to get 10 points?
Well, Allen Robinson might not be there.
Right. But here's the thing. The Bears offensive line is atrocious. And I'm still trying to figure out how we went from top 10 in 2018 to bottom 10 in 2020. Did Kyle Long make that much of a difference when he was there? I like Darnell Mooney, sure, because especially since Anthony Miller has almost evaporated and Javon Wims is getting like 2 targets a game as wide receiver 4. But the Bears are a total mess on offense, and I don't really see them doing any better going up against New Orleans and then Tennessee's defense after that. I think, in deep 12-team leagues like our Rotohackers league, I think he could be worth a pickup just in case he does start blowing up. But in 10-team leagues, I'm not starting him over a lot of people. Like, I'd start Justin Jefferson's done more than him, even if he's got tougher matchups, because I don't know how, because the Bears' offense at best is poor right now. So it's nothing against Mooney, but our offense is terrible.
I like his name though. I like to say Mooney.
You're over the Mooney.
I'll probably forget it. So Thomas H says, Mr. Tuesday, Jared, gloating about beating Judah twice was not as much fun without you.
I would have liked to have been in on that. Like anytime I can get an opportunity to gloat about beating Judah or be part of helping someone else gloat about beating Judah, it's extremely difficult to miss out on those opportunities. But don't worry, I'm sure there will be more.
Interesting. He doesn't bring up that he had gloated up to me on Tuesday either. Interesting.
I wonder why. Thomas H, do enlighten us. Did you beat AJ? I think he was talking about giving a whooping to the Rotohackers. I guess it was just the whooping boy Judah. So, Drew Vano says, "What's up, my dudes?" Well, what's up, Drew Vano? We love having you in the chat, man, and joining us. Happy almost Sunday, guys. I like that, Liam Wilson. Thank you for being with us today.
I love the Bengals surprised eyes in his contact photo.
I like the mask. I like the mask on the Bengal there. Yeah.
Drew Vano also says, "Think I'm taking L this week, guys. Lost Ridley. Started DJ.
I feel that.
Same. I
have Samuel.
I have a league or two where I start my two starting receivers were Ridley and DJ Moore. So I'm just like, oh, cool. All right. That's a great way to start off. Yeah.
But I'm with you guys. But here is the hope. Here's the silver lining. With all this windiness, with all this injuries, I think you're going to be facing people with even worse. Surprise no-shows like Michael Thomas. In the team that I had, Ridley, I think in one of them, Michael Thomas is all of a sudden out of my opponent's lineup. That helps a lot.
Nice.
He's replacing him with Greg Ward. I think that feels a little better, right? So the glimmer of hope is that this may be a super weird week and low scoring, hopefully, for our opponents.
Yeah. There's a lot of red in my list of projected points on both both for sides. Me and my opponent. Yeah
it could be an extremely low, which I hate those.
I do too. and they're especially bad if you lose 88 to 84 or something where you're all I needed was 89 points, those are brutal, So, and especially in a season where I've had, weeks where I've scored 140 and lost, so it's just the worst of both worlds. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We talked about, the possibility of teams getting in at maybe, 7-7 or something this year. And I think that's possible because through 7 weeks, there's a lot of 4-3, 3-4 teams.
Week me and you are in, I'm lower than you, but we're both sort of in the middle. But it's everybody on the team is what I think we're all. There's just a whole bunch of us that are 4-2 or no,
4-3 or 3-4. And then there's a couple that are 5-2 or whatever. Yeah, so
it's crazy. Okay, Drew says, "Man, I need a PPR flex." Let me rephrase it. Man, I need a PPR flex. Le'Veon Bell, Devin Singletary, or John Brown?
Singletary is the easy no there.
Okay, I think he's easy no, mainly because of the weather there, but I don't know if that would help the running backs. But Le'Veon Bell, I'm smashing some Le'Veon Bell this week. I think. What do you guys think, Jared? AJ already said nope to Devin, and probably John Brown, knowing you guys. But
Yeah, I think Le'Veon. I think even if there wasn't like a revenge opportunity there with the Jets, it's just likely to be a blowout in which they maybe give him some more opportunities to get acclimated to the offense. We've talked about Singletary a lot on here, how you just can't trust Singletary and almost unless Zach Moss is out and it's a good matchup. Like those are the two criteria that you have to have for a good Devin Singletary game. John Brown, he's been banged up so much. I mean, he, could have a good game, but you don't know. I would give Le'Veon a shot. Yeah.
AJ, did you want to finish up your thought on that?
John Brown is intriguing to me because they're playing New England, I think, this week, if I'm correct about that. And
I think so.
I think Stephon Gilmore's out. So this could be a big game for Diggs, Brown, and Beasley, possibly. Yeah, like we said, Singletary is... Oh, my goodness. Singletary is just not consistent enough for me. He's getting like 3 points. Like his floor right now is at like 3. I do not like to see that. I might go Le'Veon partially just because he's got a pretty easy matchup against the Jets. So if they just start racking up points and CEH comes out early, I think they'll just let Le'Veon have his chance to try to get in playing time. So I'd go Le'Veon, but John Brown is intriguing to me, but I'll say Le'Veon.
It's good news to me. I picked up some John Brown. I just worry. I worry about that win. Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Good to know. So Liam continues to say, "Can I start the weather for my defense this week?" Hearing a lot about crazy wind and cold, affecting the games this week. Yeah, I hear you. What in your guys' experience in these games? I'm thinking about even just last week when we watched when I was watching the Chiefs game. I could tell that it just wasn't. People were not comfortable with the wetness, the wind. It just brought things down to a level where people just wanted to get the game over with. Mm-hmm. You add extra heavy wind, and is that going to be smash the RBs, or what do you think? AJ, you look like you have. You're shaking your head no?
I don't know. It could be a mess. I remember a couple of years back, the Bears and Ravens played in 40-mile-an-hour winds, and that game was just hysterical to watch. I just remember that. Oh, man. It's funny because, yes, in theory, it should be, we can't throw, so we're going to run it. But then everyone's going to stack the box with 8 people. So now we have to throw it at that point. I don't know what the weather's going to do. I don't know if you've got a guy like Josh Allen who's got a rocket arm. Maybe it doesn't even matter to him. Maybe he's strong enough to get it through the wind. I don't know. It also depends on which way the wind is blowing according to the stadium. Is it blowing forward so the balls go deeper, or is it holding him back?
The wind might actually blow the football accurate for him.
Right, sure. So I have no idea. I think everyone's going in with a question mark, but for me, it's just like fantasy is already full of question marks. It's just one more.
Yeah, that's basically what I think too. I mean, it's just it doesn't it doesn't usually lend itself to letting you know, like, okay, this is how it's going to affect things. Yep. I mean, once in a while it can, but mostly it just becomes another variable. With weather, basically the one thing you typically don't want to do is start kickers that are in those games, and anything else is just kind of a big question mark as to how it's going to play out, because like the field conditions, usually it being wet it can help the offense, like because defenders are having to react to the offensive players, and so if footing's tough and they're having to react to that, then they're more likely to slip, whereas the offensive player can prep to plant and move.
He knows where he's going.
He knows where he's going. But at the same time, it's tough for offensive players too. So yeah, that's my only real takeaway from games with a lot of rain and or wind is like typically try to find another kicker option.
Good call. Good call. Todd says, "Oh, this is in relation to trading CEH for Ezekiel Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
Was it, or what? Was he
Yeah,
trading?
it
Right?
was. He would give away CEH and Jefferson and get Zeke and AJ Brown.
Well, to me, Zeke is an upgrade to CEH, so I think that would help his running back situation. What do you guys think? Looking at his, I mean, Coleman is like, I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know that the rest of the lineups really make a difference because you're trading a running back and a receiver for a running back and a receiver. So most of the time we ask, for what does the rest of your team look like? In this case, I don't know that it really matters. I mean, I guess I would do it because I think AJ Brown is, a good enough upgrade over Jefferson. If it was just Zeke for CEH, that would be hard for me to do. But yeah, I would do it since you're getting Brown, who I just traded for in our Rotohackers listeners league.
That's right.
Yeah, you did. I'd do it too, especially since can I just say this? In one of my leagues, someone made a trade gave away Coleman and got Mike Evans, which I think is one of the craziest editions of highway robbery I think I've probably ever seen. Which I get Mike Evans has been low when Godwin's been here, but Tevin Coleman's going to be competing with 7 other guys for the backfield. So
I don't know about that. 7. He might be the only guy there.
Eventually, maybe, but I'm not high on that. I'd do it. I would do it. I'd get Zeke. I like him. Look, I think he'll get it together eventually. He may not be getting 20 points a game, but I think he'll get back up to normal status eventually.
All right. I agree. That's good. Ben says, I can pick up Greg Ward. I was actually thinking about it's just the difficulty there is Rager's back. You've got Fulgham. You've got
you said Goddard may be back.
Yeah, Goddard has been activated.
Richard
Rodgers. It went from like a dearth of wide or receivers in general to now it's not quite a dearth. It might be. I love Jared's advice, or what do you guys advise to pick up Carson Wentz because now he's looking pretty. He's got some great matchups and got some good receivers.
Yeah. I hope he has a good week this week because I am playing him in almost all of my leagues in that Dallas matchup. So it's gonna be a boom or bust week for me potentially. So I think Greg Ward is a solid option. I mean, even with Rager back, I mean, Rager's been out for a while. Rager's a rookie. With the opportunity they're going to have against that Dallas defense, I think Ward at the very least is worth playing over T.Y. Hilton, who
over Aguilar
or Ruggs.
Still over Ruggs. Over Aguilar, I would probably go Aguilar. He's been the guy lately. I mean, he's still, can't count on volume with him. I mean, he's still pretty touchdown dependent, but I think Greg Ward is probably going to be pretty touchdown dependent too. So I would probably, Cleveland's given up the second most. So it's a good matchup there too. I would go Aguilar. But yeah, I mean, T.Y. Hilton just hasn't. There's been 1 week where he's even sniffed double digits, which was week 5 against Cleveland, who Aguilar is playing this week. Detroit's pretty friendly too, but Pittman's back, and again, I mean, apart from that 9.9 performance in week 5,
a whopping
9.9. I mean, last week against Cincinnati, you would think Cincinnati would be a golden matchup. Last week, Ty had 5 targets, 1 catch, 11 yards. Half of his games, he's been under 30 yards receiving. I just don't think there's any real scenario where you can play Ty unless you're just in a deep league and you're desperate.
Yeah. I might be inclined to go Ward over Ruggs. I'm going to be honest, maybe just because what is Ruggs great at? The deep ball. If the weather's going to be a huge problem, I don't think Carr is going to be able to get it to him accurately. If anything, I might go Ward over Ruggs because he gets 2 targets a game, but I'd rather take Aguilar if I'm being honest. It's a coin flip kind of, but it's a coin flip that leans toward Aguilar. It's a weighted coin flip.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can find somebody to pick up, Ben. We want you to win. You're such a good proponent of the Rotohackers. Another proponent, Todd Eldred says, and speaking of Aguilar, flex in Aguilar, Michael Williams, Corey Davis. Which one? Cincinnati game in high 40s. It's Derek Yeti weather. What does that mean?
I think he's comparing Derrick Henry to a Yeti. Because he's a beast.
I like it. Yes, that's good, Derek Yeti.
Actually, Titans and Yetis have kind of the same like white, bluish gray color scheme. That's actually like
good.
Yeah.
That's got to be a new thing, Derek Yeti. So what I think I would probably go. I'm kind of liking Davis for this game, and I'm not sure why. I don't know. I just I can't give you a reason, but it feels like Davis could see a lot. Could see defenses just ignore him this week and get a lot of targets. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Davis for me, I think. I mean, again, I've got him in our Rotohackers Listeners League, where I don't, I mean, he's missed in 7 weeks. He's only played 4 games because the Titans have already had their bye, and then he missed a couple of games. But in the 4 games he's played, he's had at least 11 points in 3 out of 4, and the one that he didn't, he was still nearly in double figures with 9.4. So he's getting volume. He's not always getting yards, but I mean, he's had 2 games where he's had 35 and 36 yards, but he got a touchdown in each one of those, and those kind of offset the 2 games where he did get yards and catches but no touchdown. So he's finally seems to have developed into a solid option. Aguilar. Yeah. That one's still kind of tough. I mean, you can make a case for Aguilar. With it being the Browns, I might lean Aguilar actually, but I would go probably those 2, just kind of 1A and 1B. And then Mike Williams, we had the one Mike Williams blow up game where Keenan Allen got hurt against the Saints. And Mike Williams blew up for 25.4 points. And in true Mike Williams fashion, then he came back last week and had 1 catch for 4 yards against the Jaguars. So, if you want to roll the dice that this is the 1 or 2 games out of the year where Mike Williams blows up, you could, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no Mike Williams for me. I might be inclined to go. Maybe Aguilar's. As much as I like Corey Davis this week, you're right. Weather's going to be a problem, and Derrick Henry is looking at that sieve of a defensive line. Oh man!
Well, didn't we say that last time he played them
against Cincy? He hasn't played Cincy this year.
He hasn't played him yet. Okay.
No. I do think though, especially though with the Bengals, because they just lost Carlos Dunlap to Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. So now the defensive line is going to be even weaker. So I might be going Aguilar here. That Aguilar or Davis, to me, flip a coin. If I'm being honest, both of them I think are decent plays. Both of them have a floor of like 5, but could get you 20.
All right. Sachin says, Jimmy, good to have you in the chat, man. Jimmy Graham or Robert Tonyan? That's tough. I'm going Robert Tonyan. I don't know. Robert Tonyan. It seems like every other week he has a little bit it's like he has a terrible week, then he has a good week, and I don't think he did very much last week, so I think I'm going to go with Robert Tonyan. What do you guys think?
AJ, you want to go?
Sure. See, Jimmy Graham, I think, is surprisingly a top 10 tight end, which is hilarious to me in fantasy. That's just so crazy to me. I think I'm inclined to go Jimmy. He's getting the targets, and the Saints' pass defense has been atrocious the past few weeks. Against Carolina, they were terrible. And guess who the Packers get this week? Minnesota. Guess who messed up Minnesota? Devontae Adams. I think this could be a big Adams and Jamal Williams game. And Tanyan has had like 2 good games. One of them was the 3-touchdown game, but that was without Lazard and Devontae Adams. And the only guy they had left was MVS, and y'all know how I feel about him. So I think that was a big Tanyan game. He really hasn't done anything since week 4. He's getting 4 to 2 targets a game. And Jay Sternberger is the one who caught the touchdown pass for the Packers in their last game. I'd go Jimmy Graham because he's got the better volume. And yeah, I'd go Jimmy. I think Jimmy's got a much safer floor, I think, than Tanyan.
Yeah, I would go Jimmy too. I mean, it's funny like how consistent he's been over the last 4 games. He's had between 3 to 5 catches, and he's had between 31 to 34 yards in 4 straight games. He's just been right there every time. So he's typically only getting about between, like 5.5 and 6 points. He did have the 1 week where he had, where he had 10, and then earlier in the season, then he had a 21 point game. But I would go him. Like AJ said, Tanyan hasn't done much last couple of weeks. He's been even a little bit below Graham, 25 to 30 yards. Hasn't done much since Devontae came back. But the other thing you have to think about with Graham too is, one, the Saints have given up the 3rd most points to tight ends, and we know that Allen Robinson is the focal point of that Bears passing attack when he's in there, but he's going to be out. And so that might mean a little bit more volume for Graham, who I also just traded for in our Rotohackers Listeners League, who was part of that trade with AJ Brown. I got him and AJ Brown, so I wanted a backup tight end. So I'll go with the guy that I just traded for. But not because I traded for him, but because of the reasons I just mentioned.
Amen. All right. Stephen Drake says, should I...
I just said what's up to Steven.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Steven? Should I... What? Huh? No, I'm sorry. Should I start... I'm hearing voices. Should I start Rashard Higgins, Trey Burton, or Jonnu Smith this week? Rashard Higgins, Trey Burton, Jonnu Smith. That's interesting. I'm feeling some Jonnu. I know you guys are thinking that Henry is just going to score all the points for the Titans this week, but what did we call him? Henry the Yeti? Henry Yeti?
Derek Yeti?
Derek Yeti.
Derek Yeti. I like Henry Yeti better. It sounds like Harry Yeti.
Henry Yeti? Yeah. It rolls off the tongue.
It does. So Jonnu, to me, would be... I saw something about his matchup, and there's something maybe you guys have more information, but there's something about
Cincinnati gives up the 2nd most tight ends.
Yeah. So I like John in here, and he's coming back off of an injury. Was he injured last week?
No, he just didn't do much last week, I think.
He just didn't do much.
Yeah.
It looks like you have something to say about it, Jared. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because Jonnu seems to have really gotten hurt by the Titans wide receivers all getting healthy, because he was feasting through the first 4 weeks of the season, and then the last 2 weeks he's had 1 catch each week, 13 yards 1 week, and 9 weeks the other. So he's had back-to-back weeks of 1.8 and 1.4 points. The fact that he's up against such a bad tight end defense is nice, but Cincinnati's just kind of a bad defense overall. So So I don't know if you can read into that for sure. I would, gosh, that is a tough one. Because you don't really know if Higgins' volume was a fluke or not.
Fluke, yeah.
Trey Burton, the matchup with Detroit is not that great. Detroit's actually given up the second fewest points. And then I was checking to see if Mo Alley Cox was going to play. He's questionable. So that kind of, let's see. That's that. So that makes it kind of tough to really make a call on Burton with Cox. If not, then Burton becomes, even with a tough matchup, Burton becomes interesting. Out of those two, I might be inclined to give Jonnu another shot and see if he busts out of his funk this week. And I think there's probably a good chance of him at least catching a touchdown.
Yeah, this is probably, I think this is one of those games I'm going to say, I've had a lot of players have had these for me. This is a prove it week for Jonnu. Back-to-back duds. This is a prove it week to see, okay, am I starting him from now on or not? I go Jonnu and maybe hope for the best. But if you need a safer play, I would go Higgins because I think he's definitely going up against Vegas especially. I think he's got a much, much safer floor than Jonnu this week. So I think it depends on how your matchup's looking right now.
All right. He asked another question. He's talking to Drew, who said I'd say Bell on the flex. All right.
Are revenge games real though? Because this is he brings up the point. Big points late means revenge carries for Bell. Do you guys believe in that in revenge games? Because I am not a believer in revenge games.
They don't tend to usually work out well. Like there was a lot of talk of of Aaron Rodgers, like revenge games against San Francisco for not drafting him 15 years ago or whatever we're on now, and they never work out. Like him.
That's the difference. You always bring that one up. That's like the worst example. It's like 400 years ago he had a grudge, and now it's a revenge game. This is a little different. This is like a fresh wound.
But who are what are some guys that have come off of and shown good revenge games? Steve Smith. I can think of Steve Smith with the Ravens against the Panthers. That's like the only one I can think of. Like I can only think of like one example on each side. And one of them, the bad one is Rodgers and the good one is Steve Smith. And all the others are just kind of very fuzzy for me. I like the matchup. I don't think the revenge part of it matters that much.
Peter says, pick one. I need a flex. I'm playing B. Scott or J. Taylor. Jonathan Taylor.
This is the one right here. This is the full one right here. The other one got sent too early.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. So starting Boston Scott,
nice.
Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Lockett, and Tyler Boyd.
Nice.
Got the Tylers. I like Boyd a lot. Okay. I need one flex. Evans, Williams, or Ayuk.
That's a good problem to have.
I mean, no, Evans is not a good problem.
Well, keep in mind, every week he's done well is when Godwin's been out. Every week, whenever Godwin has been in, he's been hitting 5 or lower. Any week Godwin's been out, he's hit 10 plus.
10 plus what?
Points.
I think that was because he had like 1 yard and one,
that was one
10
game.
yards.
That was one
that was
game.
The game you're talking about.
No. He had 19, 13, 21, and 12 in consecutive games. Godwin was only in on one of those. And then the last two that Godwin's been in, he's had 1 and 4. Every game Godwin's out, Evans does well.
I think Gronk is coming on. I say fade Evans. Williams has a good matchup, but man, I like Ayuk. I think Ayuk's going to explode this week.
Against Seattle.
Yeah, what do you think, AJ? If you're going with Evans?
And I'm not just saying that because I'm starting him in a league. I'm also starting Williams in a league, and I'm also starting Ayuk in a league. So I've got my cards in like everything with these flex plays. I like them all. Like I said, Evans has done well when Godwin isn't there. Williams is definitely just going to have a really safe floor of at least 10 this week. I think he's just really consistent when Aaron Jones isn't playing. And then Ayuk gets Seattle. I might be
is that Jamal Williams?
Jamal Williams against
yeah.
against the Vikings with Aaron Jones.
Oh
out.
yeah, Jamal Williams.
Mhm.
So honestly, I might be if I'm going with like a safe pick, Williams is definitely the one that I'm going here. Williams is going to give me a safe 12 at least with a possible ceiling of 20, I think. If I'm down and I'm like percentage wise 43%, I might be inclined to go Ayuk because he could explode against Seattle with no Debo, but also Kittle could, which also really worries me about how many targets that he's going to get. But if Seattle just ends up putting Bobby Wagner and 7 other people on him, I might be inclined to go Ayuk. And I mean, I like Evans. So I'll say Williams if it looks like you're going to win. If the other guy started, say, Ridley and Mike Davis, I might go Williams for the safer points. But if you're chasing points, I'll go Ayuk.
Yeah, I was excited for a second because I thought we were all three like have a different answer for this one. I thought Judah was going to go with Ayuk, and then you were going to go with Evans, and then I was going to go with Jamal Williams. But by the end, we're probably settling on Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones had 15 points against the Vikings in Week 1, and that was with Williams. Sharing some carries. Because Williams had 6 or 7 points. The Vikings are about middle of the pack against the run. They kind of carved him up through the air, but Jamal Williams is a good pass catcher. So I like all three of those options this week. Evans with Godwin being out and Ayuk against Seattle. But just in terms of the safety, I mean, we've seen Mike Evans might only get 2 targets and a catch at the goal line and for a touchdown or something, and Ayuk, San Francisco, you never know if it's all going to be run, if it's going to go to Kittle or whatever. So I think Jamal Williams is definitely the safe play here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was confused when I saw Jay Williams. I was thinking Jonathan Williams for some reason. I don't even know who that is.
I think isn't he an offensive lineman or something? I don't know.
He's a
running back.
Williams is a running back for
He's a running back for Detroit, yeah. But
okay.
I don't know why I'd be thinking about. I think it was because when I saw Jonathan Taylor and I thought it just kind of. I'm an idiot. Okay, so Peter also says full PPR. Okay, it's still he's a great pass catcher. Jamal, I love Jamal. I love him. All right, I got Hollywood Brown, Antonio Brown, and John Brown. Nice, the 3
That
Brown.
could be good. That could be good. The Brown trio.
Yeah, the Brown trio. I don't know. Was that in relation to one of his questions or just telling us? Or I think it's kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah.
You got all the collection of the Browns. All right. I have T.Y. Hilton starting in the flex. Should I rethink? Yeah, rethink that. T.Y. Hilton should be out of the NFL. He should not be playing NFL right now. And start Jerick McKinnon.
My only hope in McKinnon. My only hope in McKinnon is if I believe what Shanahan said, and the only reason he didn't get any carries is that he was resting him.
He had tired legs.
Yeah, I saw that. I was about to say, but yesterday he said he had tired legs, whatever that means.
Well, I think it means he's had so much work over the last few years. He's just been such a work. Well, no. He missed 2 full seasons, basically. My bad. Yeah, that's an interesting comment from Shanahan. I guess maybe McKinnon has tired legs because they haven't been used to doing anything for literal years now.
I think T.Y. Hilton has tired hands, so I'd bench both those.
Not to get off track here, but T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton's nickname is the Ghost, and man, is he ever living up to that this year?
Oh my gosh, yeah,
he's ghosted the Colts.
You know, he the Colts should trade him to New York. That way, if Sam Darnold can't throw to anyone, he can finally see a ghost.
Oh, that's perfect. That's
Oh,
perfect.
wow.
That's perfect. There's
We've come full circle.
we're down the rabbit trail completely here, but there's been rumors about, since the Jets are going to get one of the top picks and draft a quarterback, that the Colts might actually trade a draft pick
I heard that.
to get Sam Darnold. So you could have Sam Darnold throwing to the ghost.
There you go.
Anyway, we're way down.
Hey, it's Halloween. It's okay. It's Halloween, man. Ghost
That's
talk is acceptable. By the way, this just in: Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson cleared concussion protocol and is going to play. So,
wow.
Cool.
rewind the tape and all the things we said about Robinson not playing. I don't know. Let that factor in for you.
Yeah.
Peter says, "Okay, this comment will be well structured." All right, thank you. Because I'm not very good.
Oh wait, this is the same one. This is the same one from before. That's the same one from before. We're good.
You got me. All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with Jamal on that one.
Yep.
Thanks again, guys. Hey, anytime, Ben. We love you, dude. Going Aguilar and Ward. Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather do that
Okay.
over Rhodes. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. That might turn out well. That might turn out awful. In serious need of a win. Looks like it'll be close. Would you start AJ Green, pick up P. Ryan, or Mims for just the pure usage in garbage time? Not Mims, maybe P. Ryan. I don't know. I kind of prefer AJ Green over both of those. You know, I started off the pod talking about how I think he's going to get better and better. What do you guys think, Jared? You seem to be pondering an answer there.
I was actually looking down the list of questions, but yeah, I think this one's easy for me. This one's, I would go AJ Green. I mean, you know, if the other options were different, I might think differently, but P. Ryan and Mims, that's an easy AJ Green for me when he's gotten double-digit targets each of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, same. Basically, AJ Green has gotten in PPR in the last 2 weeks a combined 32 points. That's not bad. And I mean, P. Ryan's going to get you 12, but he's playing Kansas City. So how far down the field do you think Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold, or the ghost of Colt McCoy, or whoever they have back there, is going to take them down the field?
That's definitely the ghost you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. AJ Green, and that's not even close for me either. Yeah.
Okay. Liam says, think there's any value in DJ Dallas? We talked a little bit about this on Tuesday.
Real quick. Can I get 2 seconds? Just 2 seconds.
Okay.
Seattle. What the heck? Carson, Hyde, and Homer are all questionable and game time decisions. You are making my life so much harder than it needs to be when it comes to fantasy football. Just tell me if they're going to play or not so I can grab DJ Dallas if I need to. Come on.
I think you got to grab him. I think they're going to, it's like I said on Tuesday, man, let the kid see what he's got. Let the kid play. I don't think he's going to do, he's not going to smash in this spot. It looks like he is going to be the main guy. Just let's see what he's got, and he may do well.
He might, but he's playing San Francisco, who has a very good run defense, and I think that if anything, Russell's going to have to sling the ball around.
I don't put as much stock in that in that line as you guys do. I just don't. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, potentially depending on how deep your league is, but you've got to wait to make sure that Carson, Hyde, and Homer all don't play. And against San Francisco, I don't particularly like it. I would imagine there's a better option out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he's saying any value in DJ Dallas. I think there's value in at least putting him on your bench, seeing what he does.
I think it depends on how deep your league is, though.
And he might be like, maybe, he's someone who I think probably most of his value would be in DFS, where if you want to stack the rest of your lineup and you've got, a spot where you need a super cheap play and he ends up playing, then I mean, even a tough against a tough run defense, he could, ball out, get a couple of touchdowns or something, and then, way overpay on his on your return on investment. So
I like him. I think if you're in a pinch, you could even play him this week, but I don't know. Anthony says, for my flex position, would you guys go Galladay or Jacobs? Man, that's a difficult one because Jacobs, the line there the offensive line has just been such a disappointment. Gotten injured. I think they are getting a little bit more healthy. I don't know for this week.
Remember, they didn't have an offensive line last week because
that's right.
Wasn't it like the news broke on Friday?
They weren't supposed to, but I think they all came back.
Yeah, they actually ended up getting cleared at the last second. So that was just on them. Which I mean, they didn't practice. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Josh Jacobs, but that's not a clear-cut answer for me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, neither one of them have a great matchup. I mean, Cleveland's defense has been pretty tough. But at the same time, like Galladay's up against the Colts, and the Colts pass defense has been pretty tough. Xavier Rhodes is having a bounce back year. This is a tough one. I would be maybe a little more inclined to play Galladay. Galladay's been eerily consistent too. I mean, 3 out of the 4 weeks that he's played, it's been between 14.2 to 14.7 points. And the other time it was 12.5. So just weirdly consistent. Jacobs, if they're not doing well and they get behind or something, then, that's a tough spot for him. I think I like the chances of Galladay beating that coverage for a big catch or a touchdown better than I like the odds of, Jacobs, breaking off a big run or getting a touchdown. So I'll lean to Galladay.
Okay. Well, let's see. Do we have AJ Herschel? Yeah, there he is.
Sorry, I just got
AJ?
for some reason.
Huh?
I just got kicked out of the room for some reason. I don't know why.
I think your internet went wonky.
Okay. Am I okay now? Am I clear? Am I good?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, perfect. I think this is one of those positions that I was talking about earlier. Do you need to chase points, or does it look like you've got a decent win because the other guy started Ridley and DJ Moore? If it looks like you've got a good solid win and you just need 14 points to help you get the win, I'd go Galladay. But if you're chasing points, I mean, that Raiders offense is still kind of weird and relies a lot on Jacobs, and he definitely hasn't been the most efficient runner, but I think he has the higher ceiling than Galladay, especially Galladay going up against Indianapolis, which, yeah, he'll probably get you a solid 10 to 15 points. But if anything, Jacobs is going to bowl in 3 touchdowns from the goal line. I think it's a situation, if you've got a solid win, go Galladay. If you need to chase points, go Jacobs.
I think that's solid. Jacobs, though, I had such high hopes for him.
Yeah, he's been much more boom or bust than I expected.
Well, we had high hopes. I had high hopes, but I remember you guys pointing out his schedule was not good. His schedule was pretty rough, and it has turned out to be a detriment. Though you're right, he has been boom at times. The antagonist is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Buster says we have a thief in our league. He stole AJ.
And Anthony backs it up. He says, to be candid, he thought the trade was unfair as well. So Jared, for those people who don't know, Jared is making a trade to get AJ Brown and Jimmy Graham and giving up Cole Beasley and David Johnson. Jared, is there anything you want to say to validate this trade?
Sure. So let's look at the evaluate trade button on here. And so it actually has Scaraby Giraffe, gaining 12 point. Scarabee, sorry, 12 point. I like Scaraby better. I don't know.
Yeah,
I actually like to say it is Scaraby Giraffe.
Yes.
So anyway, so he actually gains 12.83 points for the season because he's needy at running back, and I gain 7.7. So technically, he's gaining more in the trade than I am. So if you look at rankings, the rankings are similar. AJ Brown's 34, David Johnson's 45, Cole Beasley's 253, Jimmy Graham's 278. Projected points, again for the season are almost identical. So I don't know what to tell you. And I offered a couple other people a trade of David Johnson for a receiver, and he happened to be the one that I heard back from first. So I put it out to multiple people, and I think people just shouldn't be poor sports about it just because they are no longer winning the league by 0.22 points in week 4 and feel like they should get a prize for that.
Shots fired.
Well said.
Jonathan Buster. Okay, well, enough about our league. Let's go to Truman, who says Boston Scott or Jamal Williams as flex.
Oh, that's a nice problem to have.
I'm going Jamal Williams.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. What do you think, AJ? You think you like you some Boston Scott, huh?
Look, I paid $31 for Boston Scott to get off the waiver wire.
Who you got?
I'm kidding. Look, I have both of them. So I like them both a lot, but I also worry because Minnesota's pass defense is so bad that Rodgers is going to be throwing it a lot of the time. I think Williams is going to get you a nice 10, but Boston Scott is going to be playing Dallas. Both of them have great matchups. Both of them are pass catchers. I might be inclined to go Boston Scott, but yeah, Williams is great too. I mean, who are your other players? Because these guys have great matchups this week. I'm starting them both.
Yeah, I would be inclined to start both, depending on who else you've got. Sorry, I'm just reading Jonathan Buster's comments. Yeah. We'll get back to that. So I would try to start both if you could. I think I lean a little bit Jamal Williams. Boston Scott just worries me a little bit, even though it is the Dallas defense. He didn't get a ton of carries last week against a pretty soft Giants defense. He basically saved his day with that touchdown there at the end. A lot of what Miles Sanders has had to do has been based on getting points off these like massive 80-yard runs and stuff like that. So I would actually still lean Williams a little bit, but I think based on the matchup, Scott is still a pretty good play depending on your other options.
Yeah, his other options are Jacobs and Davis. Yeah, I might have started them both over Davis, but I mean he's played Thursday, so
yep. He got you a nice little 8 points?
7.6. Yeah, it wasn't
7.6. Great. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I think Jamal Williams for me. I think I already said that. Okay, so Drew says thoughts on J.K. Dobbins this week and going forward.
That's your guy, Judah.
That's my dude. Yeah, I think he's going to be the main guy. I don't have any worry about Gus Bus. Gus Bus will probably get a few goal line vultures, but it's going to be JK.
I do appreciate your 180 from defending Mark Ingram up to this point to like having no worries about Mark Ingram to now having
Mark Ingram's not playing this week
to now having no worries about J.K. Dobbins taking over. He says this week and going forward.
Oh, come on, dude. Everybody knows that Ingram had a shelf life. J.K. Dobbins, I have J.K. Dobbins. Actually, I know
a guy who didn't seem to know that he did.
What? I've always said that. That's why I've picked up J.K. Dobbins. I just refused the trade offer from Jonathan. He was going to give me J.K. Dobbins for Chase Edmonds, but I just feel like Chase Edmonds has so much upside.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like
Look, Dobbins is going to be great eventually, probably, but he gets Pittsburgh this week. We know what kind of games Baltimore versus Pittsburgh is, and then he gets Indianapolis the week after that, another team that's great against the run.
Nah.
Look, if anything, his playoff matchups are awesome. Dallas, Jacksonville, and the Giants are 3 out of his last 4. So if he starts getting carries, that's great, but he hasn't gotten carries. I mean, last week he got 9. If that goes up against Pittsburgh, if they trust him against the Steelers, that'll tell me a lot, and I'll have a lot more confidence in him going forward. But if he goes back down to his normal 4, 5, 3 carries a week, then I don't think I'm going to be that involved.
Alvin Kamara 2.0.
I don't think so. I mean, that Ravens offense, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I just haven't seen anything to make it seem like he's going to take over some significant share of them going forward. Maybe we'll see.
Anthony says, he said, thanks guys. Great takes. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Just love having new. I don't think we've seen Peter before, so it's good to talk to you. Drew is down for the Brown.
Yeah,
because of the Brown.
What can if it would fit in the team name, it probably wouldn't. You might have to get creative, but really his team name needs to be like, what can Brown do for you?
Nice.
Or
what Brown can do?
What can Brown do for me? I guess that should be the theme.
Jared, you're such a good writer. You come up with these great things. All right, who's the better start week 8? Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb? I
think Amari. CeeDee had next to nothing last week. Amari's going to get targeted. He is the number 1. CeeDee at this point is turning into Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, weird week for CeeDee last week. Somebody waived him, and I picked him up off waivers in a league where I was wide receiver needy. So I'm probably not starting him this week with that quarterback in. I'm going to probably wait and give it a week because I've got a couple other decent options. But Amari's the number 1. I would go with him.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton Witt. Hey, what's up, guys? He says, well, what's up to you, Clayton? Good to have you in the chat. Who are you starting PPR? 2 RB, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Boston Scott, I guess. Gio Bernard, first name basis on a lot of these guys. Jamal Williams, Swift apparently, and A-Rob.
And AJ Brown, Kenny Galladay, and Cooper Kupp. So it's a set my lineup type thing. This is a nice lineup. I think this could be a pretty deep lineup, especially if Swift becomes a true number 1.
He will become a true number 1. I think. What are you guys doing about Kupp these days? Do you trust him? Do you put him in the lineup?
I have zero shares of him, so I do not have the Cooper Kupp dilemma this year.
I'm benching him in Rotohackers this week for Boston Scott because he's had 1 game of over 100 yards. And look, that Miami matchup is actually not as enticing as I expected. Silently, Miami's actually been a pretty good defense this year.
They have been.
Yeah, Kupp has barely done anything, and when he does, it's because he's gotten a touchdown, and he hasn't gotten one of those since week 3.
Yeah.
So
I mean, who would you rather have between Kupp and Cole Beasley on a week-to-week basis? I would rather have Cole Beasley. Now, if you want upside, if you need a guy who can get you 20 plus, then I'd rather roll the dice on Cooper Kupp. But yeah, otherwise, yeah.
Is it just me, or have the Rams not been? They haven't been a real huge source of points at all, right?
They've been a run team. They've been a run first, take out the clock, score 20 points. Yeah,
I think so much of it, and I'm not really basing this off of data. This is going to sound like a Judah comment. I'm not basing this off of data. I'm basing this off of my feelings. I'm not basing it off my feelings. Actually, I'm basing it off of their style of offense. I just don't know the actual numbers for the year. But with Goff, he seems like such a play action quarterback. Like that's how, if the passing game is going to work, it's going to be because the other team is biting on play action. And so I think it's just going to be tough week to week for that offense and receivers, because not every defense is going to do that. And a lot of games they're going to have to rely more on their defense and the running game. So yeah, it's just tough to trust, Kupp. I mean, even Woods, I do have some shares of Woods, and Woods has been able to save more of his games with, touchdowns and stuff like that. So even though he's actually not getting that many targets and catches and stuff like that, he's done pretty well.
He actually had a couple rushing touchdowns, I think.
Yeah,
right?
he's had some rushing, and but like the last 2 weeks still, I mean, well, actually, you look at what Woods has done, and if you just saw his numbers, you'd think he's having a terrible year, because 4 out of the 7 weeks he's had 36 yards, 29, 22, and 14 receiving. But because he's had touchdowns, because he's had rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, he's been at, in double digits 5 out of the 7 weeks. So yeah, that Rams offense is just hard to trust. And I think it's going to stay that way for receivers, because Goff needs help, and he needs things to go right in order to get the ball to those receivers.
Well, AJ had to go grab a charger. In the meantime, I think he already gave his thoughts, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you just go? Well, you haven't. So how would you fill this lineup? You got to go Gio and Jamal, right? Gio, Jamal, Swift at Swift at the what is it called, flex?
I would go Gio, Jamal, and then wide receiver Brown and Kenny G. It's tough to bench Allen Robinson, even with wind or whatever. That would probably be who I would go with: Gio, Jamal, Brown, Galladay, Robinson. That'd be mine. But I mean, you can make an argument for a lot of those guys.
Would you fade Boston Scott probably out of all these?
I mean, just kind of for the reason that I mentioned from that previous question, is like in that game against the Giants, that should have been more of a spot for him, and he really had to save it with that, which was a great touchdown catch at the end. But without that, I mean, he had a pretty pedestrian day. So,
did you give your thoughts on what the lineup should be here, AJ? You're muted, maybe?
Yeah, you're muted.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I think I'm with you guys on Williams for sure. Giovanni and Boston are both interesting. I think they have probably about the same floor or at least the same ceiling, I'd say. So I go Giovanni Bernard. I think he's safer. AJ Brown's definitely yes. Galladay's definitely yes for me. After that, not Kupp. He has frustrated me to no end. And Allen Robinson, really my only proponent for him is that the Saints defense has been really bad against the pass in recent weeks. So I go with him, even though the Bears passing offense has been absolutely atrocious. So I would go AJ, Galladay, and A-Rob, but Robinson's the iffiest one out of all of those for me. It's not Kupp. It's not Swift this week. Boston's intriguing to me, but I think I'd go Allen Robinson here. But, man, Boston Scott is that flex play. That's tough. And I just want to acknowledge that this dude's basically set for the playoffs because he also has McCaffrey and Miles Sanders and James Robinson on his bench. So,
jeez.
Maybe.
What? How many are there? Is this a 4-team league?
Well, I mean, you can get mostly like McCaffrey round 1, Sanders round 2, Robinson off of waivers. I mean, you could build a really nice team out of it. This is like he has like the perfect draft this year. This was the perfect.
If he makes it though, if he makes it to the playoffs, it's not the perfect draft. These are it's just he's probably does not have a winning.
Yeah, record. we don't know the record because I mean, AJ Brown's been hurt a lot. Kenny Galladay's been hurt a lot. Christian McCaffrey. So that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, Cup didn't do anything for him. Jamal Williams probably is his best player here for the first 3 weeks. All right, let's see. Did you want to?
All I was going to say is that I'm pretty sure this conversation started with someone whining about the trade being unfair in my favor. So I like this bit of projection about me being the one who's butthurt over this. But I think we need to go back and make sure that we don't do too much revisionist history with this exchange here. Just a little bit of a revisionist history. Yeah.
The antagonist.
I've like figured out the whole like character scenario for all this, man.
You need to write it up.
Yeah.
The only way is rugby. Thanks, guys. Did we answer any of his questions, or he just?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
He had the P. Ryan or AJ Green question.
Oh yeah, good. I guess I just didn't look at his. I'm sorry for not acknowledging you. The only way is rugby. No problem, man. Come back, or woman, or rugby person. Come back at any time. Thomas H says, by the way, Falcons are on a win streak.
Yeah,
well, they're on a heater, ladies and gentlemen.
I think I said last week or sometime because I've been talking about it to friends. Like the Falcons will. It was on here. It was on here about like how, they're off to a good start for getting a high draft pick, but they're going to blow that. Like they'll finish, they'll finish around like maybe the 13th pick or something like that. But they're not gonna, they're not gonna get like a top 3 or 4 pick and get Lawrence or Lance or something.
Yeah. See, it's funny because I remember when Dan Quinn saved his job last year, they went 7-9. He was the only coach I'd ever seen getting carried off of the field on the shoulders of the team after finishing 7-9. But I'm sorry, Thomas H., enjoy this Falcons win streak while it's going to last, because in your last games, you have 5 matchups. Saints, Bucks, Chiefs. So have fun with that.
Well, let's see. Oh, Jalen Reagor was activated off the IR. I don't know if he got maybe this was a while back he asked, but yeah, my phone is blowing up with all the Reagor I have with. So I don't know if you didn't see that. Got CMC, Mostert, Sanders, and J-Rob on the bench.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. Oh, you put that. Yeah.
I told Judah before we came on, I said, well, if other people's lineups are anything like mine, my advice is just going to have to be like, play your players who are not on bye and who are not injured. And that basically removes almost all lineup decisions for me.
Yeah. Same here.
Oh, and he does say it is an 8.
Oh, yeah.
So that was for the other question.
8 team league. Yeah.
That's 5-2 though. So I mean, he's trending towards playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how he did that. All right. So speaking of 2 people that are going to play and not injured. It's crazy, but AJ Green's not injured at the moment. So would you play T. Higgins, or AJ Green? I think I got to play AJ Green. What do you guys think?
First of all, as we're thinking about this question, I'm a little bit disappointed that you didn't give your weekly numerous attempts at pronouncing his name, like Milas. Uh, and then the whole time, AJ and I are sitting here like, I think it's just Miles. Just Miles.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit disappointing.
Is that Miles Morales in the picture?
I don't
there?
think so. I've zoomed in on it a couple times. I don't think it is, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it is kind of hard to tell. It's so small. I think that I don't know. That's really a tough one. I don't know that you can really know between the two. I mean, Green, it's nice the fact that he's come back with so much volume the last couple of weeks, and I guess I always tend to lean volume, but it's not like Higgins is doing poorly. I mean, Higgins, has last week he had only 5 targets, but he had a touchdown, and so he's basically averaged 16 points over the last 2 weeks because he had 15.7 and 16.3. So I don't know. I don't know how you really pick between the two of those. It's just kind of a dice roll. I guess I would go with the volume and thinking that AJ Green is probably due for a touchdown, since I don't think he's had one yet this season. So I would go that way, but I mean, it could just easily be, T Higgins, but AJ Green just seems like he's due for a touchdown,
AJ's definitely the safer play. I'll say that for sure. T Higgins, though, he's had what I would consider, for like a guy who I picked up off the waiver wire and on a lot of teams to be a wide receiver 3, 8+ points in every week except his first 2. Like, that's solid. That's really, really nice. I'm inclined to go AJ. Like Jared said, he's got the targets. We have the same name. I like T Higgins a lot. I've said that. I like him the rest of the season, but AJ is getting the volume. I'll go with him.
Okay. Mila's also says, should I drop Fant for Goddard? And
No.
I say yes. Absolutely. Fant is hobbled, banged up, what have you. The other tight end is coming on. That passing offense is atrocious. Grab you some Goddard.
Goddard. Sure. I like Fant still. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure if that game was a one-game fluke since Fant had been hobbled and the other guy got in a lot. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't think you should drop him for Goddard, especially if he's your only tight end, because I'm sure someone else might snap him up. If there's anyone else on your bench that you can get, I think you can maybe try to get Goddard, but I don't know. I worry with Richard Rodgers because I know everyone's like coming back. Goddard's going to be the number 1, but even with Ertz, Goddard was always there, and Richard Rodgers really proved himself in his last game. Like, he had a really
prove himself. He caught what he always does. Catches a long one.
No, he got 6 catches. He had 8 catches. He had 8 targets and 6 catches. He was the best Philadelphia wideout. Fulgham didn't do anything. Fulgham had a lot of targets, didn't do much with them. Ward didn't do much. Rodgers had the best game out of all the Philadelphia pass catchers. I wouldn't drop him. I'd see if you have room on your bench, if there's someone who's out and you can maybe pick up Goddard, see what he does. I wouldn't drop Fant yet.
I will take Goddard over Fant all year, like the rest of the year, easy. I give you 100 yards.
Oh, we haven't had like a Judah bet on a player. Like last year we had I forget, like we had like 2 or 3 different ones. I think I accepted 2 of them, but not 2 or 3, maybe not the 4th one or something like that. But we need to get a couple of those going towards the end of the year, because I don't think my our stadium seating capacity deal is going to work out well for him. Although I will say if you want to like bump it up to 50 and say that half the stadiums get filled to capacity by the end of the year, I'll give you that deal.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Think about it. What about my bet? Do you guys want to take Goddard over?
No, I haven't even weighed in yet. No.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think?
I like them both, but there's both. There's risk to both too. I mean, Fant, before he got hurt, was looking like he was going to be, a great option in that passing offense because with Cortland Sutton being down and so many rookies, I still like Fant. In the short term, though, especially with Ertz out, I think Goddard's got a lot of potential. This is a tough one. To me, they're kind of right together there, and we don't have a great sample size. We had that that one huge game from Goddard in week 1. Week 2, he only had 30 yards. I guess I would lean to him slightly over Fant in the short term. I don't know if the guy's got another tight end on his roster. If not, if you could afford to roster both of them, then you could play some matchups and kind of, see if Fant bounces back or, how much Rodgers is pulling away from Goddard. Because I like to do that if I don't have a star tight end that I can play every week, like a Kelsey or a Kittle or an Andrews. I like to have a couple because we've seen, like with Jonnu was cruising along and then all of a sudden did nothing for 2 weeks, or like Gronk, who was doing nothing. And then OJ Howard went down and then suddenly he's, a focal point of the offense. So I like to have two. So so I'd say if you need somebody in the short term, if you're needing some wins, if you're not just like comfy out in front of your league, I would probably go Goddard. Otherwise, I might be inclined to stick with Fant and kind of see how that plays out the rest of the season.
Who do you think? Who would you rather have, Fant or Hurst?
Well, I mean, Hurst is starting to finally come on and kind of be something closer to what
we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still not lighting it up. I mean, he's still only had over the last 6 weeks, he's had one game where he's gotten to double digits, but at least he's getting, he's getting targets and he's getting yards. So 5 of the last, let's see, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 4 of the last 5 weeks, he's actually had 50 plus yards. He's not, been getting touchdowns lately, but 50 plus yards is pretty solid. He just had that one bad week against Carolina. So I would actually probably have to go with Hurst, even though he's competing with more options in that offense, because he is at least, getting the catches, and touchdowns can come and go. Julio's never going to be that big of a threat for touchdowns. And Ridley's out for a little bit. So I would actually say Hurst probably.
I agree. Fant, I would like if he was 100%, because Denver doesn't have that many people to throw to right now. But the fact that Hurst has actually been getting targets, especially in PPR nowadays, I'd go Hurst.
Okay, I think that's a well. Here's another got a question. Drop Ingram or Tanyan to activate him? I would definitely drop Ingram in a heartbeat. What do you guys think?
I think you could probably drop either one of those guys. Yeah. If forced to choose, I'm just looking to see what Ingram has done lately.
He's like perennially at 7.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looked terrible last game. He just dropped everything.
Yeah. Sterling Shepard's coming back, or he's back already. Ingram.
Although this is Sterling Shepard he's questionable. Did you see anything about injury?
No.
I think he had something bothering him on Thursday, I think. if I remember correctly.
Just want to keep an eye on that.
Our Rotohackers antagonist just took him out of his lineup. Shepard was limited on Thursday with a toe injury for some reason.
That doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah, I would. I guess maybe drop Ingram. I don't feel that great about Ingram or Tanyan for the rest of the season. But if Devontae went down or something, then Tanyan's value could shoot up. Whereas I think Ingram's value, regardless, is probably not going to be that great.
Yeah, these guys are like the exact same, but also the exact opposite person. With I think in fantasy, they have the exact same like worth or going rate right now, but they're completely opposite in the sense that Ingram will get you 7 a week, and that's it. And Tanyan will either get you 30 or 1. So I might be more inclined to go Ingram because they're also a worse offense. The Giants are a worse offense, and at least Tanyan, if something happens to Devontae Adams, you got a better chance of him getting more points. So I'd go drop Goddard. I drop Ingram, pick up Goddard.
Okay. Let's see. So let's go down to McSweet is back. McSweet 123.
What's up?
I trade Tyreek Hill and Landry for Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. Was that good?
Hold on. He texted this one like 3 times. So this, I think, is the correct one. I think.
Okay. I traded Aaron Jones and Landry, and he got Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Swift. Yeah. Heck yeah. I like that. Yeah. You get a huge upgrade at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe a little downgrade at running back, but it's hard to tell at this point. If I'm kind of weirded out about this injury because he's like, it's no problem when I'm going to play, and he's out for 2 weeks. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be the Packers being cautious. Like Devontae Adams was mad; he wanted to play that Monday night game against the Falcons, and the Packers are like, "Nah, we got this. We got this without you. It's the Falcons. We'll be fine."
Well, I would believe that, but then he didn't play. He's not going to play this week. So what happened?
Yeah. I mean, again, just they may just be overly cautious, and I mean, honestly, like, how much is the drop off from Aaron Jones to Jamal Williams? So. Yeah. I think that's hopefully maybe more what it's about. I think that's probably a good deal. I really hate to give up. I really hate to give up Aaron Jones because he's got that week 15 matchup. I think it is with. I'm trying to think if that's Carolina or he's got a great playoff schedule. I think. So I hate to give him up for that reason, but to get Tyreek and DeAndre Swift, they are probably a better overall package deal than Jones and Landry. Although, I mean, it's hard to know exactly what, Landry's volume now looks like without OBJ. So I think it's a fair trade. I think it's a fair trade, just about an even split there.
Yeah, if you like upside, I think Hill and Swift is awesome. But if you like consistency, I don't know. What, AJ, what do you think about like upside versus floor here?
Yeah, well, if you're talking about consistency, Tyreek Hill is probably the safest wide receiver you could get because Adams will have games where he gets shut down. I mean, look at Tampa, and you could say, well, he was partially injured, sure, but also Rodgers just didn't have time to throw the football, so it didn't really matter. So Adams can have bust games. Hill, since they have so many weapons to cover in Kansas City, will always get you a safe 10 points, but has a ceiling of like 37. Swift, I think, is going to get better as the season goes on. I don't have faith in Landry until the last 5 weeks of the season. Aaron Jones, that's tough because Landry never scores in touchdowns until the last 6 weeks. Jones,
that's like his contract or something?
I'm just saying that's just what's happened to him over the last 2 years. Aaron Jones, that is tough to give up, and Drew does bring up a good point. Calf strains are tough to come back from if you're a running back. I think you're right with Jared. I think that's a fair trade. Swift could be a nice flex play down the line, and Hill is set and forget. So I think that's a solid trade. I think it's a solid trade.
And Swift's role is probably going to continue to grow over the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I give the slight edge to him on that. That's probably a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Peter is back. What?
We had hopped around because he had sent it 3 times, so we were a little bit above that.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, where are we? You
Thomas H.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, how do you think Tua will do in this first start? We've kind of flirted with this discussion. Maybe we should talk about it. I just don't know how much information we have. I think it's the reason we haven't really talked about it very much is because it's hard to tell. But could he be another one of these Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert rookies that comes on and sets fire to the league?
Well, he could for sure. I mean, this quarterback class of this year, especially the top half of the draft, is just outstanding. But I'm worried because he's playing the Rams, and that's not an easy defense to go against week 1. You've got Jalen Ramsey's going to be blanketed over Devontae Parker. Aaron Donald certainly isn't going to make his life easy just because it's his first start. So this isn't exactly like the New York Jets or anything that he's going up against. This is a tough matchup. Could he do well? I think he could. I think he'll probably have a fine game, maybe 2 touchdowns a pick, 250 yards, something like that maybe. But I don't think I'm expecting necessarily Justin Herbert, like what Justin Herbert did when he came in and threw 20 touchdowns in his first game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to see. The Rams are a pretty good defense. I'm surprised they're starting him against the Rams. Really, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe did the Dolphins have their bye week last week?
That was last week, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they're kind of giving him the bye, more time to prepare. I think I would have maybe tried to find somebody else to start him against.
Yeah.
But I think they, I mean, why didn't you start him against the Jets? Even though it was before your bye week, wouldn't the Jets have been a good team to start him against? Anyway, I think they want to, have enough time to see like what they've got with him and all that. It's just the trend you don't let young quarterbacks typically sit for that long. It's kind of crazy to think that Mahomes actually sat for a year, but yeah, I'm very curious to see. I have no idea. I have no real prediction on how he's going to do,
Yeah, I think the last time we talked about it, I was like, you guys watch more college. I have no idea. I have zero idea. I just know I hear his name. I know he's hurt. It does seem weird that somebody who's sort of he's had problems getting injured, you're putting him against Aaron Donald.
Well, it wasn't really so much he had problems getting injured as it was he just had one devastating injury.
Okay, and he's coming off an injury, I guess is what I mean. It's like, well, let's go test that leg against Aaron Donald.
He did have like a lot of little nagging stuff, like with ankles and knees and stuff, and so he fortunately avoided the big injury until the end of last year, but he did have a lot of little nagging stuff, and it only now gets his opponents only now get bigger and faster. So we'll see. I am a little bit worried for how he's going to hold up in the NFL.
Their offensive line hasn't looked too bad, so that may be what they're trusting. Maybe they're putting their trust in the offensive line, and
but he just tends to. Again, I think the best way I could describe him is like a Russell Wilson type, where he's not really running for a lot of yards usually and stuff like that, but he likes to run around to try to create time for plays and stuff like that, and that's sometimes what gets him in trouble, so we'll see how much of it changes, but that's part of what makes him good at what he does, so.
Okay. So Drew was saying he's hoping to get Miles Sanders and Ridley back by week 11.
Me too.
I was hoping for Ridley back next week. Are we looking at week 11 for Ridley?
I saw something that said
it was like it's like a sprain, not exactly a really bad sprain, right?
We'll see. You know, they next week he's out next week, and then 10 is their bye, and so week 11 is when they come back. So it is almost certainly going to be week 11. Yeah.
I'm. It's weird. I was so optimistic about this season, and I am getting so frustrated.
I am too. Like, I'm not, I'm just at the point where I'm just like, there's nothing else I can do. I've plugged. It's like little holes in the boat, and you're taking like a finger and plugging in a hole, and you're like, I'm out of fingers at this point. So like the holes that keep springing up, like I don't have anything else to plug them, so.
Yeah. Well, where are we at in the chat? Because
we're right here.
Okay.
Yeah, we probably need to start kind of rolling through these to wrap them up.
Down. Yeah, because I mean, as I get frustrated with fantasy, it's not like I want to sit here and talk about my frustrating part of my life, for 3 hours. All right, so, but full PPR, Bills. Let's see, which DST would you stream? Bills or New York or Chargers at Denver? I kind of like. I don't know. I kind of like New York. It's going to be windy. It's going to be crazy, and I think that New York gets a little.
You're talking about Buffalo, or is it
the New York Bills?
No, New York against.
No,
New England against the Bills.
Isn't it Buffalo's?
Yeah, I think it's Buffalo and the Chargers. Bills versus New England and Chargers versus Denver.
Yeah, so it sounds like Buffalo defense or Chargers defense.
Or Chargers. Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. So Bills, I like Bills, but Chargers is pretty good. I think either of those could be really good. What you guys, you said that, AJ, that you like the Chargers. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, we've talked about Buffalo and just how they haven't done. I mean, really, the Chargers haven't done much either. It's been 3 or 4 points pretty much every week. They get a solid matchup with Denver. Buffalo finally showed some signs of life last week, albeit against the Jets.
And they still almost lost to the Jets.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with with New England is Cam looked really bad last week.
Yeah.
N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman, I believe, are both
Edelman's
out.
on IR, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're
good point.
So they're down on receivers. Basically, they just have the running game, and Cam looked bad last week. It's risky. It's risky because Buffalo could give you negative points, but
that's true.
I would actually probably roll the dice on them, considering the number of weapons the Patriots are without, and just how bad like Cam started to look like the Cam that the Panthers justifiably got rid of last week. So I would probably roll the dice on Buffalo because the Chargers haven't really shown a whole lot either.
Yeah, I think you just convinced me to Buffalo, because I do think the Chargers defense has been at least less of a disappointment, partially because the Chargers they've had a rough schedule. Like, they've had Tampa and Kansas City, so they've been put through the ringer of offenses, and for them to get positive points out of a lot of those games, I do like them. But yeah, you bring up the fact that Cam's been looking bad, and I forgot that N'Keal wasn't going to be playing this week. So, now that you mentioned that, I'll go Buffalo.
Who's he going to be throwing to? That might be some good gold for fantasy.
If Newton can get whoever's catching at the ball.
Yeah.
James White is like the only Patriots player I'd even come close to starting this week.
Yeah, Damiere Byrd, I picked him up briefly in our Rotohackers league because he was really running the most routes for the Patriots. But even if he's in there, I would, imagine he's going to get Tre'Davious White. So, and again, when we get bad Cam, like the issue is just Cam getting the ball to them at all.
Yeah.
and then beyond that, hopefully like in stride or something, So I don't love that. So I think if Buffalo can shut down that run, then they could have a potentially good defensive day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's try to fly through these. Do you think AB will and Hollywood will be good replacements? I think they'll be. I mean, they'll be okay.
I think
Let's
AB
keep you
better
afloat.
than Hollywood because
I don't know.
Because the Ravens go up against Pittsburgh this week. Like I said, I don't like them I don't like the Ravens this week. That's just my thing. And then Indy's tough. They're not an easy defense. And AB, I mean, if we watched the last time that Antonio played with what's his name, with Brady, they had a great connection over there in the one game he played in New England. And if that's anything telling me, especially how he's been looking in practice, I like AB over Hollywood here probably.
Same, yeah. He's been able to practice with them. They had that connection from last year. Yep. If there's two guys that might not need any practice to come and play together, it would maybe be Tom Brady and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and with Godwin out probably week 9 too.
Yeah, yeah. So I like AB at least in the short term. We'll see how he behaves. I would not want to gamble my life savings on AB for the season, but in the short term, I like him. Yeah.
Which one did you bench? Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, or Mike Evans? Probably Mike Evans. I just saw that Gronkowski has a questionable tag. Does anybody have any information on that? Because that's pretty important.
Give me a second. I think I'm playing someone with Gronk this week, so let me check that real quick.
Well, I mean, you're not going to find much about him on. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was any information.
I haven't heard anything. I see the questionable tag, but I haven't really heard anything. I mean, for me, I'll get mine out of the way and say, I think even with Godwin out, and even with Deontay going up against Baltimore, I've got to bench Evans still. I mean, it's just been hard to predict what Evans is going to get. I mean, he's had four of his 7 games. He's had 2 receptions or less, either 1 or 2 receptions. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. I don't even know how that's happening. So you can't guarantee, and Deontay Johnson and Keenan Allen are most likely, unless they get hurt, going to be getting double-digit targets. So I think you just have to go with the safer plays there.
Yeah, my only worry with Deontay isn't so much that he's playing the Ravens, but if we look at what the Titans did last week, they blanketed Claypool the whole game. Why? Because he was Ben's easy number 1 in the past 2 weeks. I worry the Ravens are going to blanket Deontay the whole game. I think that they might might put Marcus Peters on him the whole game, which worries me. And Juju annoys me, but this might be the one game that he actually blows up because the other 2 might be covered. I go Deontay because he's still just getting the targets, and Big Ben will throw into triple coverage, as we saw last week. So I'll go Keenan and Deontay to start. But I do like Evans this week. I have said that. But I'll go Keenan and Deontay to start. Bench Evans.
Okay, MB, thanks for being in the chat. Love you, man, or woman, or whoever you are. What do you think about Matt Ryan, Travis Kelce? Matt Ryan and Travis Kelce for Kamara and Dallas. Kamara. I'm sorry. Yeah, Dallas got it. I love it. I think Matt Ryan, you could whatever, but Travis Kelce for Kamara, I would do that, just that, and you get Goddard. What do you guys think?
Yeah, probably so. It's always tough for me to trade an elite tight end, but if you're getting an elite running back like Kamara, unless you are already stacked at running back, if you're already stacked at running back, then it makes it a little bit tougher to lose an elite tight end. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I love you. Y'all know I love Kelce. Like, he's one of the guys that I draft every single year, and I had to trade him because I needed depth. So yeah, you're getting Kamara out of that. And he's definitely has a higher ceiling at this rate than Kelce. Kelsey's been eerily consistent with 10 plus points almost every week, but Kamara is half of the Saints offense. So,
well, would you guys start Allen Robinson this week or pivot to
No,
Mike Williams?
not
No.
Mike Williams.
No.
Easy no there.
No, just stick with Allen Robinson, I think.
Yeah.
Or somebody else we talked about. Boyd or AJ Brown at flex.
Question. It was a two-part question.
Yeah.
Tannehill, Burrow. I'd probably just go Tannehill. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like both, but I'd go Tannehill.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried just because I know Henry could run it 20 times and Burrow's gonna throw it. He's averaging 40 passes a game. I guess
Henry Yeti season.
Man, I'll go Tannehill because I like the safer pick, but Burrow is very enticing because they just don't run the football.
Interesting.
I like both.
Yeah. Actually, I might go to Burrow just because Mixon isn't in there. And it just might be a throw fest. Fish says Boyd or AJ Brown at flex. I really like Boyd. He's been consistent with, like really good targets, receptions, and touchdowns. He's, as far as touchdowns go, he's had quite a few.
Which makes me worry that Malcolm Butler is going to be on him the whole game. Because the Titans play good defense. And like I said, Big Ben had been throwing to who? Chase Claypool. Who did Malcolm Butler cover the whole game and who got one target? Chase Claypool. I do worry about that. And the Bengals, if they do that, they can spread it around. They got Gio, they got AJ, they got Higgins.
Yeah, this could be a big green
AJ
game.
Brown because he's very, very safe. Tannehill's going to hit him. And he's been getting consistent targets, consistent points. I would go AJ Brown. As much as I love Boyd, I'd go AJ Brown.
Same. Boyd's been very good all season long. He's been, but he has had, a couple of weeks where he's been down around 5 or 6 points. The fact that there's 3 good receivers in that offense with him and Green and Higgins, doesn't mean for sure that he's going to get the volume. AJ Brown, since he's come back, has been a monster. I mean, 3 straight weeks of 17 points, 20 points, and 24 points. So if that stands, then this week he's going to get you like 28, so probably not, but not. Yeah. I mean, he's the number 1 receiver by far. I like Brown over him.
Drew says calf strains are rough to come back from. Oh, I didn't know that.
That was, I think, in reference to either Ridley or one other guy earlier. Yeah.
No, that's Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, right. You're right.
And then Fish says, I traded away Robinson for Sanders in a dynasty league. That's interesting. I don't know. Feels like a wash to me, but what do you guys think?
See, if this wasn't Dynasty League, I would love this for this year because people can get really enticed by saying Robinson's the number 2 running back in a PPR format or whatever. Guess what? His second half schedule is terrible. He faces a whole lot of tough run defenses, and Jared, you should know Sanders' second half schedule isn't horrendous actually. So if this year for sure, I love having Miles Sanders. I just traded away James Robinson in one league out of necessity. But I like having Sanders a lot for the rest of the season. Robinson worries me. Dynasty League, I don't know. That's tough to say. Like, in 3 years, is James Robinson still going to be the number 1 in Jacksonville? Next year, is he still going to be the number 1? Are they going to draft anyone or whatever? So
are they going to have a whole new team next year? Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, but this year for sure, I love that.
Yeah, I think I like it. I mean, definitely for this year, and I think maybe for long term too, because like I said, Miles Sanders at least was, I think, a 2nd round pick for the Eagles. Robinson's undrafted free agent. He's been great, but you don't know what the future looks like there. Jacksonville has never had the most stability of an organization. The Eagles, biggest problem this year is offensive line. I think they'll probably go address that in the draft because they're, they've got young weapons like Fulgham and Rager and Goddard. So I like Miles Sanders for the rest of this season and long-term both.
Okay, we got a couple more, but we got to go. So let's see. Midfoot sprains are rough. Yeah, it's time to drop Singletary or just give him away. I don't know. You could drop him probably, but in this day and age with maybe just keep him and see what happens because running backs are hard to get. You guys?
I had to drop him in like the one league where I had him because I had, an option to pick up somebody like Bernard or Williams for a week. And I'm like, well, Williams really isn't providing much of anything unless Moss gets hurt again. So I did drop him. I think he is droppable. Yeah. In 10 teams. Even.
Yeah. I think, see, it's tough because he says he got CEH and Le'Veon on week 10 bye week. So he's going to need someone. Check your waiver wire if there's nobody else out there, which it probably not, of course, nowadays. Man, that's tough. Unless there's a better running back that you can get who's maybe a little more consistent. Maybe just for the heck of it, just check what P. Ryan's week 10 game is. But yeah, it might be time to drop him.
Or like I picked up in our Roto League, I picked up Gallman because Freeman's probably not going to play. It's not a great matchup against Tampa, and it's Monday night, so you need to be sure that Freeman's not going to play. Right. But, Gallman's probably not going to do worse than what Singletary's been doing. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't mind Gallman, too. He's pretty good. Shades721, thanks for joining us. Just traded Carson AB and unhappy and worried to an unhappy and worried Zeke owner. Thoughts on that trade? So you traded away Carson and AB.
I'd like to know who he got for that, though.
I'm wondering if he got. I'm assuming that he got Zeke. Like it sounds like.
Yeah, he got Zeke. Yeah.
Yeah, in exchange for Carson and AB.
Which Carson is this? Wentz or Chris?
I assume he means Chris, but maybe he can clarify.
I like it. I have no idea what AB is going to do. If it's Chris Carson, dude, who knows what's going to happen the rest of the season with him. Zeke, I'm less low on him than you, Jared, but I think you still like it, Jared, right?
No. I'd rather have Carson. AB is kind of a wash there, but Carson in that Seattle offense, if it doesn't look like his injury is long-term serious, and there's just a dramatic difference between that Seahawks offense and the Cowboys offense right now. I would probably trade
Chris Carson. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Carson better.
Okay. A real quick question: is Rashad Higgins a good flex pickup? Yeah.
I
pick
think
him
so.
up to see what he does, and then we'll end up with the sublime. Trump is king says, my friends and I put a total of $14,500 on the Bucks minus 11.
This is probably the safest bet this side of Clemson Syracuse you could make. I hope that works out for you.
Well, let's keep in mind. Do you remember when Daniel Jones first came in? I know this isn't the same team, but what was his breakout game last year when he had to come in? It was against Tampa.
Oh my goodness!
It's
a revenge game.
He lit them up for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, and 28 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, and they won it 32-21. So I don't know. Daniel Jones has looked terrible this year. The Bucks are not the same Bucks team as last year, but we've seen before, like sometimes there's just something about a guy playing a team. I might be a little bit worried about that, but it's probably a solid bet.
It's probably solid, but that we'll see. Okay, so real quick, Ravir says I'm having trouble.
Ravir shots.
Currently stuck with Dobbins, James, White, Gallman, wondering who I should put in the flex. I think if I should over Claypool, I think I'd leave Claypool in there. I think he's going to have a fine game. What's wrong with Claypool?
The fact that he got 0.1 last week.
Yeah.
Right, but he's not going to have 0 points every week. It's Dobbins. I like Dobbins. It is a tough defense this week. So I'm
going to be honest. I might be inclined to go James White here. I love the guy. Dobbins, I hate the matchup against Pittsburgh. Gallman, I hate the matchup against Tampa. He's got the toughest rush defense in the league. Who held Alvin Kamara to 38 rushing yards. So I don't like either of them. And he says, which two would we start here? So I would go Claypool and James White. James White, hopefully, since we said the Patriots have no wide receivers this week, he might be able to get you to some, especially if this is PPR, some nice points with catches out of the backfield. And then Claypool, I would take him over Gallman against Tampa and Dobbins against Pittsburgh for sure. I say White and Claypool.
I'll say Claypool and Gallman. I don't know what happened with James White last week. You would think that would have been a good game for him, and he had like a Claypool game last week. He had just basically nothing. So, so I'll say Gallman. As long as Devonta's out, as long as Sunday it sounds like he's not going to play, then I would go Gallman with Claypool.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it. And
we did get one. We got one more. We could probably answer real quick. MB has to choose between Higgins, DJ Dallas. That's for sure Higgins for me.
Yeah. Which Higgins is it?
This is I'm pretty sure this is in reference to Rashard Higgins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot we now have multiple
Higgins.
I was thinking it was T. I would still probably go with Rashard.
Either Higgins.
Yeah, I'd probably go either one, unless just like all Seattle running backs are out, and then maybe you throw in DJ Dallas.
I think they're all going to be out.
Oh, also, really quick, Ravjir said, by the way, which two running backs would you start out of his question? By the way.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, I go Dobbins and James. What? I might go Dobbins and Gallman. I might go, Dobbins and Gallman.
That's what I'd do.
I'd go White and Gallman, but that's just me.
All right. Well, we would love to.
Got one last one.
There's always going to be one more. Hollywood or Miller? I go Hollywood.
Hollywood, yeah. Can't trust that distribution in Tampa.
Yeah.
And he was dropping passes like crazy. It's got like hands of mud or something. What do you think, Bears guy?
I don't know if this is Scotty or Anthony Miller. If this is Anthony Miller, obvious Hollywood. If it's Scotty Miller,
oh yeah, what do you guys think about Scotty Miller?
Oh yeah, that's who I assumed it was. Yeah.
Oh.
But he had that one game. I think the 1 week where I started him was the 1 week where he just did nothing or.
Zero that week.
Well, granted, that was a Thursday night on a short week, and he had been hobbled. So, and it is Scotty Miller, by the way. This is Scotty Miller.
He's got a questionable tag.
Yeah, I would still go Hollywood. I think you can throw, and I think they'll have to throw more on that Pittsburgh defense. So I go him.
All right, guys, I've got to go. You know what? Leave your join our what is it called? Discord.
Can we get the link in here?
I will put it in the link during the thingamajobber. Why don't you hit the outro and I'll go find the link.
Right. One last thing. Wait. We're probably not streaming Tuesday night, right? I would assume.
Why? What's happening?
Oh, right.
The election
night.
Oh, well, I mean, you think we're going to get results in or something?
I mean, probably not, but I don't know. I was we can I guess figure it out. I just figured we needed to see if we needed to say, hey, we're moving it to
good question.
Monday night or something. I mean, because we had 1 week where we had to do it on a Tuesday night when we were having games anyway. So we could just as easily do it Monday night since we've
it's up to you guys. I think that'd be fine. Let's just go Monday night. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
I put the Discord in the chat, so it's there. Let's hit that outro. Goodbye, everybody.
See you Monday night.
Peace.
Monday night.